Good Thursday morning to you, and as we do on every Thursday, we're going to look at a proverb from the book of Proverbs. But first, let me mention that we live very complicated lives. Our lives are different, and our days are different, but all of us do the same thing. We wake up in the morning, we go through the day, and we think things, and we do things, and we say things, and we run into situations we didn't expect. And then we go to bed and we get up and we do it all over again. These are our days, but we don't always stop to think where our lives come from. The things we do and say and think. They come from two places, what we call the head and the heart. The head is the place, the mind that God has given us to reflect, to ponder, to think, to reason, to make judgments, good and bad. And then all of the things that happen up here go down into our heart, and they come out with our words and our actions. All of life issues from the heart. That's what the book of Proverbs says. That's what Jesus said. Out of the heart come all kinds of things, good and bad. So this morning we're going to focus on words, our words, with this verse, Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So in other words, we have in our words the power to either blow up a situation or a relationship, or to diffuse it and to bring peace. Now, I want to share with you a story that we're going to look at in depth on Sunday morning. It comes from 1 Samuel chapter 25. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's the story of soon-to-be King David and a very wealthy man named Nabal. Spoiler alert, his name means fool. And his wife Abigail. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the story, let me just set it up really briefly. The story is that David has not yet been anointed to be the king of Israel, but God has rejected Saul. He's chosen David. And Saul is still living in delusion, thinking that if he can just hunt David down and kill him, he will maintain the kingship. And so David is out with his men foraging for food in the fields. They're hungry, still being chased by Saul. They come upon thousands of cattle and sheep owned by a wealthy man, they're told by the shepherds, named Nabal. And so David, it's a feast day, a special day, and they're hungry. And so they send messengers to Nabal, David does, and they come to Nabal and they said, they tell him that, David is our leader, and we have been protecting your shepherds in the field. We've been very good to them. You haven't lost any sheep by us. And we are hungry, and it is a feast day. And I wonder if you would share a little bit of what you have with us. Anything will help. And so they appeal to his good graces. Nabal's reaction, he looks at them and he says, "Who is David?" Well, everyone knew who David was. He was a legend already in Israel before he was even anointed king. But Nabal reacts angrily and he says, "Who is David? Should I give my milk and my meat to somebody I don't know even who he is?" And so he sends the messengers away. They go back to David. They repeat what Nabal says. And David's response to that harsh word from Nabal, he tells his men to strap on their swords, because that's who David is. He's a warrior. And so he's ready to prepare. He's prepared to go to battle with Nabal. Enter Abigail, Nabal's wife, who hears from her servants, the shepherds who were out in the field. They tell her the whole story, that David's men kept them safe, actually helped them, and Nabal responded in the way he did, and now there's going to be a big battle, and could you do anything to help? And so Abigail responds very differently. She prepares a kind of a huge meal for David and his men from the wealth that she and her husband have, and send it to David. And Abigail follows behind, comes to David with all of the food and falls at his feet, apologizes, takes the blame of what her husband set upon herself, apologizes to David, acknowledges that he is God's man, and David listens, puts down the swords, and the situation is diffused. It's a beautiful story. We'll look at it at Sunday at length, but you have the same power in your relationships and the situations that you respond to. You have the power to either blow up a situation or diffuse it with your words. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So in the situations of your life, let the head control your heart today, and give a soft answer to someone who needs it. God bless your Thursday.